Okay, let's do another example. And this one is one in which we are going to build a movie application. So this is an application that, say, someone at the counter would use to accept orders for soda, popcorn, and movies. All right, so what we'd like to do is to display a table that looks like this. And the table has 3 columns. So the first column is item, and we're going to have a row here that says soda, a row that says popcorn, and a row that says movie. All right. So just clean this up a little bit here so it looks nicer. Okay, then we're going to have a price column. So let's say soda is $1. This is cheap soda. Popcorn is $2, and a movie is $10. All right, then we're going to have a quantity. And the quantity is something that the user will be able to enter. So the first 2 columns are things that are fixed. We're just going to display those. But the quantity is going to have a text box that the user can go into and enter a value. And then we are going to have a total cost that appears down here. That also has a text box that gets filled in. All right, and then we're going to have a button that says purchase. And you press the purchase button when you're ready. When ready to make purchase. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So let's just talk about a little bit of background here. When you interact with a text box, so these are our text boxes, it's here, 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 and here. When you interact with a text box, there are 4 main types of text box events. We have an on blur event. That's when we lose the keyboard. On focus, that's when we get the keyboard. Change, on change, that's when we alter the text in the text box. And on select, and that's when we select text in the text box. Okay, just call this out. It's kind of scrunched, oops, it's kind of scrunched in there. Just gonna pull this out and move it down here. All right, and we'll just expand that a little bit. Okay, so we've got these 4 main types of text box events. There we go, that makes me feel much better. All right, so if the user leaves a text box and goes into another text box or clicks on another element, we're going to generate an on blur event. If the user clicks on a text box, and now the keyboard, when you type on the keyboard, text will appear in the text box, you get an on focus event. If the user alters any text in a text box, you get an on change event. And finally, if the user selects any text, highlights it inside a text box, that's an on select event. All right, so we're going to use that information to build our program, our JavaScript program, in a second. But the first thing I want to do is I want to write all this HTML to make this happen. And so I'm going to start over here. And I need lots of space to work here, so I'm going to just expand this. And I'm going to say doc type HTML, HTML. Let's see, am I going to put a little head here? Sure, let's put in a head. And add a title. And the title is going to be movie example. All right, close that head. Get a body. And we will create a form that represents that table that contains the items. So we're going to have a form. I'm going to give it an ID, a really boring ID of form. And we'll give it a name of form. We'll give it a method of post. And we'll give it an action of nothing. We're not going to the back end to do this because we're just demonstrating how to use the form. Okay, let's set up a table. And I have some stuff that I hard coded in for the table for its characters. So let's see what it looks like without my fancy stuff. Okay, I'm going to violate my rule because normally I don't put CSS in here, but I have some notes here that say set the table width to 200 and set the border equal to 1. Okay, normally I don't do that. Normally that width and border would be in the CSS for the table. All right, so let's do a table row. And in table row, I'm going to have TD item. So that's going to be the first column, and then TD price, and then TD quantity. And then I'm going to end my row. Okay. So that corresponds to the, scroll up here a little bit. That's going to be the first row, item, price, quantity. All right, so that's my first row. All right, my second row is going to be soda. That's my first item. And the price for the soda is going to be 1.00. I think we're going to line stuff up here. All right, and now the quantity is going to be a text box. So we have a little bit more to write here. So we're going to say input type equals text. And we're going to give this an ID equal to soda. I could put a name there, but I don't have to. All right, and we'll close the input, close the TD, and close the row. All right, now I could just do some more typing, but I'm just going to do cut and paste here. So we're going to have a row for soda, we have a row for popcorn, and we have a row for movie. So this is popcorn. I like it when things line up. So I'm going to make it line up here. And movie. And popcorn's $2, movie is $10. And the input type is going to be text for the text box for each one of these. And we've got popcorn here as my ID for the second text box field. And then we have movie as the ID for my third one. Make sure everything lines up. It's a good idea to try to get things to line up, and the reasoning for that is it's going to help you. Actually, I think I'm going to do it this way. Getting a little picky about lining stuff up. The reason why I like doing this is it will often expose errors if you're careful about lining stuff up. Because everything should look the same. And if it doesn't, it means you've got an error somewhere. Okay. All right, that's looking pretty good. All right, I'm going to close my table. And that table resides in a form. So the form is going to have a submit button. But before we do that, before we close the form, we're going to have a total cost. And that's going to be another input. Type equals text. And ID is going to be equal to total cost. Don't take shortcuts when you come up with these names, because you want to try to have consistency. So the item name is soda, so the ID is soda. Popcorn, popcorn. Movie, movie. Now, there's no programmatic link between these two things, but it does help from a consistency standpoint to use the same labels. And the same thing here, I'm calling it total cost in the text, so I'm giving it an ID of total cost as well. All right, close that and end my paragraph. All right, let's close the form. And now what we're going to do is put in the JavaScript. So script type equals text slash JavaScript. Source equals movie.js. And close that, and then close the script. And now we'll close the body. And now we'll close the HTML. Okay, so this script right here, movie.js, that's the code that's going to register the event handlers for all of these text boxes. And for this total cost text box, whoops, I just noticed I'm missing something. One last thing in the form is we need to have a button that gets triggered value equals purchase. So we need to have a button that gets pushed, and we're going to set up an event handler for that button. So the ID is going to be purchased and the value is going to be purchased, so that's what shows up on the button label. Okay, perfect, and I'm going to put that in another paragraph so it appears on the second line. Okay, let's save this, and now we'll test it out. Right, so movie.html, open with Chrome, How do things look here? Yeah, that's not so bad. All right. So we have a text box that we can type in here. So we can put a quantity of 1, we can put a quantity of 2, we can put a quantity of 3, and we can set up a total cost. Now, if I do any of this stuff right now, first of all, if I do a total cost, I shouldn't be able to type in that anyway. And then if I click purchase, I'm going to purchase the items. Right now, that doesn't do anything because we have an action which goes nowhere and refreshes the form. All right, and so the idea here is if I put something in quantity here and then leave that text box, what I'd like to see is the total cost get updated. All right, so the total cost should get updated to $1. If I put 2 movie tickets in here and I leave that text box, I should see the total cost get updated, and it should be $20 plus $1 for the 1 soda. That's $21, right? And if I could click purchase, we can just erase the screen there. Okay, cool. So now what I have to do is I have to write the JavaScript code to wire all this together. So each one of these text boxes, these 3 text boxes here, have to have an event handler associated with them, and total cost might need to be updated as I do things in these text boxes. All right, so let's go to the code for the JavaScript code for the event handlers. All right, so this is a blank file right now, and I'm going to write some code now. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to get the element. Get the elements needed for the program. All right, so the elements needed for the program are the soda text box. So that is equal to document dot get element by ID. And the soda text element is called soda. It has the ID of soda. You can see it right here. There it is. The input type equals text, and the ID is equal to soda. All right. Now we're going to have something similar for movie and for popcorn and for purchase. So the movie equal, we're going to do it in order too. So the popcorn, let's get a little bit more space here, equals document get element by ID popcorn. The movie equals document.get element by ID movie. The purchase, total cost equals document get element by ID total cost. And we also have, we've got purchase button. Well, I'm not really doing anything with the purchase button in this example, so I'm going to leave that alone. Normally, we'd wire that up to the back end. Okay, so we've got the elements we need for the program. Soda, popcorn, movie. You make any changes to any one of those text boxes, and the total cost will get updated. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to register event handlers. All right, so which event handler should we use? Let's take a look. So our choices are on blur, on focus, alter text, and select text. So which one makes the most sense? Well, it doesn't make sense to update total cost if you have altered the text but you're not done altering it, selected the text, or gotten focus. Basically, the only event that makes sense in the context that we have is we'd like to update the total cost once we're done working with the text box. When the user leaves a text box, that indicates that the user is happy with the current state of that text box. So the one that makes the most sense is on blur. All right. So we're going to set up event handlers for soda, popcorn, and movie for on blur. So the soda.onBlur equals compute total cost. So we're going to have a method called compute total cost. Whoops, we need an equal in there. And that will get invoked if the onBlur event occurs on the soda text box, on the movie text box, and on the popcorn text box. Again, I want you to notice how particular I am about setting these up. I'm doing this in the same order that they appear in the HTML, and everything's done in the same order. I'm setting up, I got the soda element, then the popcorn element, then the movie element, then the total cost element. So I'm setting up the soda event handler, then the popcorn event handler, then the movie event handler. So I'm doing everything, trying to do everything consistently in the same order. Compute total cost. Okay. And again, just to make the code look nice, easy to see and manage, I'm going to get everything to line up. Okay. So there are my event handlers. Now, I want to do, well, there's something I'm going to come back and do in a second, but let's get the code for the event handler up and running. All right, so we're going to write function compute total cost. And the code that's going to be here is pretty straightforward. The total cost, okay, so the total cost is a text box. However, we can get access to the value that's stored in the text box by saying the total cost.value. So the total cost.value is equal to the soda.value times, well, how much is a soda? Let's take a look at what we had set up here. Okay, we said the soda's $1, popcorn's $2, and the movie is $10. All right, so it's the soda times 1.0 plus the popcorn. Again, notice that I'm doing this in the same order as everything else in this code. So I'm trying to be consistent. Mathematically, it doesn't matter the order that I do this, and whether I do soda first, movie second, popcorn third, movie first, soda second, the order doesn't matter, but everything here is done in a particular order. And I think what I like to try and do is avoid surprises. So I'm doing even my expression in the same order. Okay, perfect. Well, that computes the total cost. All right. So now if we leave the soda text box, that's an indication that the user is happy with the current soda text box value. We are going to compute the total cost, and we're going to do that by looking at all of the text boxes, multiplying the quantity by the cost for each of the items, and we should end up with a total cost. All right, let's try it out. So let's save this, and we'll go back to this. I'm going to reload, and that should reload our movie.html and reload our JavaScript. So notice the total cost is already 0. That was automatically done. Let's do this. Let's get one soda. Doesn't quite look like it worked because that should have updated. 2 movies. Yep, something's not quite working just yet, but we'll get it figured out. Okay, let's see if we can figure out, uh, let's see if we can figure out what's going on here. All right, let's go back and look at our code. That's looking pretty good, but the on blurs are not looking so great for whatever reason. Um, okay, well, let's see. Let's try debugging it. Maybe we can get some clue as to why this is not behaving. This happens all the time. Yeah, that's not right. Okay, so we'll go to more tools, developer tools, and okay, so the good news is this time we can see that it is actually finding movie.js. All right, so let's do this. Let's set up an event. Let's set up a breakpoint at the event handler to see if we're actually doing a computation. All right, and we'll refresh this. Looks like when you do a refresh, it executes the code. We'll just let it finish. Okay, cool. So what I'd like to do now is see if I can trigger the compute total cost event being executed. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to set the quantity to 1, and I'm going to leave. Uh-oh. Looks like onBlur did not actually happen. Okay, fair enough. Maybe I got the name of the event wrong. So let's do this. There's my soda. And let's do a refresh again. And let's see if we can take a look at the variables that we have set up here. It's kind of hard to search through all the variables that are there. So you can do something called watch, and that says you want to look at a particular variable. So I'm interested in the soda variable. And let's see. There's a lot of stuff we can look at for soda, but I'm interested in all those on events. So there's definitely an on blur. But what's fascinating is that the on blur is not set to anything. So that's weird. All right. Tell you what, let's let this run and finish. Looks like it needs to run a couple times. And now let's take a look at those on events. And it does look like on blur is not working out right. It doesn't look like the on blur event got set correctly. So why is that? Why indeed? So, well, one thing is we definitely have a link between the soda, the soda variable, and this document.getElementById. So that's definitely working. So why don't we do this? Let's set a breakpoint here and see when this on blur happens if it actually gets set. All right, so I'm going to refresh again. And it looks like it just, it did run. And we're going to let this single line execute. And now let's just see. We executed that single line. Let's go to on blur. It says it's null, which means, I don't know, something funny is going on here. All right, I'm going to pause this and I will figure it out and I'll get right back to you. Bye.